Eamon, Javers, a reminder to our viewers that the president used to come on our air once a week at least and talk about the economy, talk about markets, talk about personalities. That news conference could have fit in any of those segments from years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Reminds me of the Trump Tuesdays and, of course, the president making some open-ended comments there, but really taking full political credit for this rebound and suggesting that he's made every decision right all throughout the year with the pandemic and with the economy. The president there making the analogy that this is more like a hurricane's impact on the economy than it is a full-blown recession. That is, it's temporary, it's sharp, but the minute the sky clears, people get out there and start rebuilding. He's hoping that's what's going to happen here. He's hoping that's what this portends. And, of course, if it does, that's a strong piece of evidence for him out on the campaign trail saying that, look, I handled this right and the economy's rebounding. You better reelect me in November. This White House very happy to have this piece of good news on this Friday after what has been a very, very tough week and couple of weeks for the White House politically. And Carl, I do want to say something here about what we've seen on Twitter and some high-profile commenters, that sort of the BLS truther crowd. You alluded to it earlier. We've seen a lot of skepticism about this number from people who are Trump critics. There is no evidence to suggest there's anything wrong with this number here. It is dramatically different than what we expected, a lot of experts expected, but there's no evidence that this was in some way cooked, as we've seen some prominent people out there suggesting. And it reminds me of the days back in 2016 when we saw prominent partisans out there saying the Chicago guys are cooking the numbers for Barack Obama in 2016. There was no evidence of it then. There's no evidence of it now. We, of course, will follow the trail if there ever does become any evidence, and we'll report it. But I think people need to take these numbers on face value until there's any evidence that they're not. And I think that skepticism speaks to something that's going on in our society more broadly, which is a generalized lack of trust, skepticism, and increase in belief in conspiracy theories across the board. It's something we got to watch because it makes it harder to do all of this and to analyze all of these numbers, Carl.
Really quickly, Eamon, the president said that China gave us a gift from China, was how he referred to COVID-19, a plague floating in from China. And he also talked about the trade deal. He said, I view the trade deal differently. They are buying a lot from us, he said, which I respect, but clearly for an issue that matters so much to the market, is this deal in jeopardy?
Well, look, we don't know. You've seen some good news from the White House. They were heartened this week to see the Chinese begin to buy again after a pause period. There was some concern that deal would fall apart. The signals they're getting now seem to suggest that things are on the upswing with the Chinese, because as the virus passes, maybe the Chinese will be able to hold to their end of the bargain a little bit more. But the situation between the United States and China is difficult and getting more difficult. And the real flashpoint now is the Hong Kong situation and the protests we've seen there and the crackdown of the Chinese politically on Hong Kong. As the U.S. government expresses frustration with that decision, you're going to see more tension between the United States and China. And I think that is going to be the question of whether that pressure snaps the trade deal or whether the trade deal is strong enough to withstand the real divisions now that we're seeing between the United States and China.